As this video goes live, Apple will have just released iPadOS 26 to the public, and as seems to be the pattern these days, iPadOS feels very much like the middle ground between iOS and macOS, especially now that Apple has brought the files and multitasking features of iPadOS even closer to the Mac experience. While there aren't a huge number of flashy standout additions, the quality of life improvements Apple has introduced make this a really strong release. So in this video, I'm going to share 8 things that I think you should try first when you install iPadOS 26. Okay, let's get into it. Before we get into the video properly, let's take a quick moment to talk about compatibility, because you'll want to be sure that your iPad can actually run the latest version of iPadOS. If you've got an iPad with an M series processor, you're good to go. Beyond that, you'll need one of the following: an iPad Pro 12.9-inch 3rd gen or newer, an iPad Pro 11-inch 1st gen or newer, an iPad Air 3rd gen or newer, a standard iPad with an A16 chip, or the 8th generation and newer, or an iPad mini with the A17 Pro chip, or the 5th generation and newer. It's a bit of a mixed list this year, so I've put all the supported models up on screen so you can check for yourself. And if you don't know which iPad you've got, there is a really quick way to find out. Go to Settings, then General, then About, and under Model Name, it will tell you exactly which iPad you're using. When it comes to updating, go back into Settings, then General, then Software Update. Choose the latest version of iPadOS from the available updates, follow the steps on screen, and you'll be good to go. The very first thing that you'll notice when you install iPadOS 26 is the brand new look. Apple is calling this design liquid glass, and it's been years in the making. The idea is to create a consistent look and feel across all of Apple's devices. So whether you're on an iPad, iPhone, Mac, Apple Watch, or even Apple TV, everything now feels uniform. On the iPad, you'll see it straight away in places like Control Center, which now appears as a transparent overlay on top of your current page. You'll also notice it in Apple's own apps like News, where there's a new menu bar at the top and a glass-style slider that you can move from left to right to switch between different sections. It's a big change for sure, and after having used the beta for a while now, I actually really like it. There isn't a huge learning curve here. It's more about getting used to the refreshed design. But if you do find the extra transparency makes things hard to see, there is a setting that can help. Head to Settings, choose Accessibility, then tap Display and Text Size. Here you'll find an option called Reduce Transparency. Turn that on, and the system will dial back a lot of those transparent layers, making the interface much easier on the eyes. By the way, if you're enjoying the content here, you should definitely check out the Proper Weekly. It's my free weekly newsletter that lands in your inbox every Friday, packed with tech news from the week, content I've been enjoying, and a handy tip for the Apple ecosystem. Just scan the QR code on screen to sign up, or follow the link in the description. Beyond the new look, iPadOS 26 also makes some really big changes to how the system works. It isn't macOS, and I think that's a good thing, but it is now closer to macOS than it's ever been. You might not spot this right away, but once you start experimenting with window management, it becomes clear. Take Safari as an example. So by default, it still opens in full screen, but you'll now see a small icon in the bottom right corner. Swipe up from here and you can undock Safari from full screen and resize the window. You can do this from any corner, and it works the same across all apps. Once you've resized it, you can also grab the title bar and move the window around just like you would on a Mac. The old slide overview has gone, but you can still achieve a similar setup by resizing an app and shifting it over to one side. The real advantage here is multitasking. You can place multiple apps on the screen at once, move them around freely, and arrange your workspace however you like. It all feels much more natural than it did before. You'll also notice the arrival of the traffic light system in the top left corner of every window, just like on the Mac. These are small red, amber, and green buttons that expand when you tap on them. Red closes the window, amber minimizes it, and green switches back to full screen. And if you long press on the green button, you'll see a set of move and resize options. You can position the current window to the left, right, top, or bottom, and you can even use it to quickly assign all of your open apps to the available space on your display. If that looks familiar, it's because the same feature has been on the Mac for a long time now, so it's nice to see Apple keeping things consistent across all devices. If you'd rather stick with the old full screen approach, there is a setting for that. Go to Settings, then Multitasking and Gestures, and choose Full Screen Apps. With that enabled, You can still open multiple apps, but you'll swipe between them iPhone style instead of managing floating windows. And for anyone who likes Stage Manager, that option is still here too. In fact, it works better now because all of these new window managing features carry over into Stage Manager, making it a much more powerful tool than in early versions of iPadOS. Another feature borrowed from the Mac is the menu bar. You might not spot it straight away, but if you swipe down slightly from the top of any app, you'll now see not just the traffic lights, but also a menu bar, which will look really familiar if you've used macOS before. The menu bar gives you quick access to everything that an app can do. Tap on any of the options across the top, and you'll see the full list of available actions. This is really handy if you use your iPad with a keyboard and mouse, but it is still useful with touch too, because some functions that might otherwise feel hidden are now easy to find. All of Apple's own apps include a menu bar, and every third-party app that I've tested so far has one as well, even if the options are sometimes more limited. Because this is new on the iPad, I would expect developers to expand what they offer here over time. And if you're using a keyboard, you'll also find that the menu bar displays all of the available shortcuts, making it even easier to navigate without lifting your hands away. The Files app on the iPad has had some small but meaningful improvements, which is great news if you're someone who uses your iPad for work and spends a lot of time in here. First, there is a much better list view with columns that you can drag to rearrange or resize. This makes it easier to focus on the information that actually matters to you. It's something that the Mac has had for years, so it is nice to finally see it on the iPad. If you long press on a folder, you can now customize it with colors, tags, icons, or even emojis. It's a small touch, but it makes important folders stand out and adds a bit of personality to what can otherwise be a pretty plain-looking file system. And if there are files or folders that you're constantly jumping in and out of, you don't have to rely on the Files app alone anymore. You can now drag a folder from Files directly into your dock. By default, tapping it opens a fan view, which I'll admit isn't my favorite, but if you long press on the folder in the dock, then choose View Content As, you can switch it to Grid. That way, when you tap it, all of the documents and subfolders inside appear right on your home screen, making them much quicker to access. iPadOS still isn't quite at the level of macOS for file management, but updates like this bring it closer every year. And if you're using your iPad as your main productivity device, I think you'll find these changes genuinely useful. The Preview app, which has been a staple on the Mac for years, is now available on the iPad. It might not sound like the most exciting new addition, but it is surprisingly useful and does more than you might expect. When you first open it, you'll notice a small preview tool on screen. At first, this looks like it's just part of the background, but if you touch it and drag, you'll see that it actually moves around. This is the same interactive glass effect that Apple showed off in their liquid glass demo, and while it doesn't really serve any functional purpose here, it's a fun Easter egg that shows just how realistic the new design looks. What's impressive is that the effect works seamlessly across the whole app. It looks great on the top half of the screen where the interface is, but it also blends perfectly into the lower half where your documents sit. It's a cool little touch that highlights the level of detail that Apple has put into iPadOS 26. When it comes to actually using the app, the name Preview does feel a bit unfair because it does way more than simply letting you look at files. Yes, it shares the same name as the Mac app, but on the iPad, it brings a lot of tools that make it genuinely powerful. When you open Preview, you'll see a list of your recent files. These can include photos that you've been editing, PDFs you've been working on, Photoshop documents stored in iCloud, pretty much anything that you'd expect to handle on your iPad. Tap on a file and it opens right in the app. Take a PDF as an example. Once it's open, you've got a full set of editing options: autofill for forms, markup tools for highlighting and annotations, the ability to rotate or select parts of the document, and more. For many people, this will remove the need for third-party PDF editors entirely. You can even scan new documents straight into Preview using the iPad's camera. That feature has existed in Notes and Files for a while, but having it here makes Preview a much more logical place to manage your PDFs. There's also a Shared tab, which is really handy if you collaborate with others. For example, if you've got a shared iCloud folder, all of the files inside are accessible in Preview. That means that you can open and view documents like scanned contracts or household paperwork without having to open the Files app separately. It's worth spending some time exploring the Photos app in iPadOS 26. Like everything else, it's had the new visual overhaul, but Apple has also addressed some really long-standing frustrations and brought over a few of the best features from the iPadOS 18 update. The biggest change you'll notice is in the sidebar. You can now switch directly between library and collections, which makes it much easier to move between your entire library of photos and videos and the curated collections Apple creates for you. There are also new tools for managing how those collections are organized. Tap Edit in the top left corner, and you can start reordering the way that different sections appear. This is really useful for the pinned area at the top, or for groups like the Utilities section. Just drag the handles on the right to arrange things the way that you prefer, then tap the tick in the corner to save your new layout. Another feature to look out for in the Photos app is spatial scenes. This works on any image, whether it was taken on your iPad, iPhone, or even imported from another camera. If you spot a small hexagon icon in the top right corner of a photo, tap it and your iPad will process the image, separating the different layers to create a 3D effect. It's hard to show properly on video, but it's really impressive when you try it for yourself. And the best part is that it doesn't alter the original photo in any way. You can simply tap the icon again to remove the effect whenever you like. When you think about how powerful the latest iPad chips are, the M4 in the iPad Pro or the M3 in the iPad Air, it makes sense that a lot of people want to use their iPad as the center of their content creation setup. And with iPadOS 26, that's easier than ever thanks to better control over the microphone that you're using. Take voice memos as an example. I've got a Shure SM7DB microphone connected through Shure's USB to XLR interface, and with just a single cable into the iPad, it works perfectly. In voice memos, where the mic is active, I can open Control Center, tap the voice memos control at the top, and under the input section, choose my USB mic, giving me studio quality microphone input without having to go anywhere near my Mac. Great if you're on the road and you need a compact audio capture solution. And if you're someone who podcasts on your iPad or records remote calls, there's now a local capture tool in Control Center. With this enabled, you can capture Zoom calls, FaceTime calls, or anything similar, and the video is stored directly in the Files app. From there, you can edit it on your iPad or move it across to your Mac for a bigger editing workflow. The Journal app was something I was really excited to see when it first came to the iPhone a couple of years ago, but I didn't really use it much, mainly because I don't enjoy typing long entries on my iPhone. If I'm going to sit down and write a lot, I'd rather do that on my Mac or iPad. So it's great to see that the Journal app has now made its way to the iPad. When you open it, it looks pretty much the same as it does on the Mac. There's a sidebar on the left where you can view your journaling insights, and down at the bottom, you'll see all of your journals. If you want to create a new one, just tap the plus button next to journals, give it a name, pick a color, and choose an icon if you like. This is perfect if you want to separate things out, maybe one journal for your personal life, one for work, one for fitness, etc. When you're ready to write, tap into the journal that you want, press the plus button at the top, give your entry a title, and start writing. You can add photos from your library or capture one with your iPad, log a place using the compass button, and record audio with the waveform icon. The audio is added to your entry and also transcribed for you. There's also a little tree icon that lets you add a mood or emotion, just like in the Health app. You can draw with the markup tools, and if there are journaling suggestions, they'll appear here too. And of course, one of the nice things about using Journal on the iPad, and something that, in my experience, gives it the edge over both the iPhone and the Mac, is that you can use the Apple Pencil. So if you'd prefer to sketch or draw directly into your journal, you can do that too. Beyond that, it is the same journal experience we've had on the iPhone for a while, but in a format that, for me at least, feels much better suited to actually sitting down and journaling. So there you go. Those are the 8 things that I think you should try first when you install iPadOS 26 on your iPad. What about you? What are your thoughts on iPadOS 26? Are there features that you're really enjoying, or is there something you think Apple should have included but didn't? Drop me a comment and let me know. And don't forget to check out the channel for all the other OS videos I've released today. I've also got plenty more content coming over the next 10 days, so keep an eye out for that if you're interested. And as ever, if you found this video useful, do please consider leaving me a like and subscribing to my channel for more content like this in the future. See you on the next video.